Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I have from Canada, Jaden Sterling, and he is the founder of Sterling Stock Picker. He's a Wall Street insider turned Main Street mentor. And his mantra is you don't need to be an expert to invest like one. And so today's talk is all about his system, what he does, the equities, and I'm really happy to have him on. Jaden, welcome.
Hey, Chris, thanks so much. Appreciate you having me on your show, and I'm looking forward to bringing some good insight and valuable content to your audience. Thanks again.
Yeah. And I know you were on the show a couple of years ago, and we've grown a lot, and your episode did very well. And talk about your journey and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I'll take you back to when I had an epiphany at age 14. I realized that I was meant to teach people about money and, most importantly, how people can be financially abundant, not enslaved by it. And I was also told that I would be teaching from personal experience, not from a book I read or a course that I took. Can you imagine at such a young age having your purpose downloaded to you? And it was a very profound experience, and it's one that I have followed to the T. I went to school and studied finance at American University for a period of time, and then went out on my own to work on Wall Street during the decade of the 90s. So I worked for Citigroup and Merrill Lynch, and I learned a lot about the industry and how money works. And what I really learned was that the best way to invest, I learned from my very wealthy clients. And it was interesting to me because they came in, they would bring their portfolios in for a portfolio review, and they had 6 to 8 stocks. And these were big companies back then, like John Deere, IBM, the biggest, the best of the best back at that time. And we were told as financial consultants to sell those stocks and to diversify the client into packaged products, mutual funds, unit investment trusts, CDs, and things like that. And after about 8 years of being in the business, when I realized that if I had just left my clients in those individual companies, their portfolios would have performed far better than selling them off and buying them packaged products. I learned that diversification doesn't work. It's a myth. That mutual funds, the reason everyone has mutual funds, it's because it's one of the highest percent commission-based products an advisor can sell. And everyone's got them. And I've often said, friends don't let friends buy mutual funds. So I'm a very radical thinker in how I go about investing. And I've put that to the test over many years. In fact, when I worked for Citigroup, I invested in one stock, and that was our parent company, Travelers. And so Travelers grew, it tripled and it had two splits during the decade of the 90s. And my $70,000 investment grew to just under $1 million. And there is no way I could have grown that level of wealth that quickly in mutual funds or unit investment trusts or packaged products. I put my thinking to the test, personally realizing, wow, this stuff works, and created software called Sterling Stock Picker, right? Just about picking stocks, not mutual funds and all those other things, and teaching people how simple and easy it is to invest their money on a monthly basis and grow their money so that it can actually create real wealth for people.
Yeah, really great introduction, and I really love the markets. And I haven't touched a mutual fund in over 25 years.
Good job.
When I realized it's basically making Wall Street money and not me, so it defeats the purpose of investing. But one thing I questioned for you, because I was reading this book, it's called The 100 Baggers and also 100 to 1 Stocks. And it's just talking about obviously John Deere and IBM are just not really, those are old companies, but it's the concept. So what is the number one thing clients should be looking for in order to have the right stock selection?
I think the most important thing, which hardly anyone talks about, frankly, is buying stocks aligned with your personal values.
Okay. Okay. So personal those. So once we have that alignment, what metrics or what sort of in your stock picking selection, what sort of things should clients be looking for, like in terms of actual numbers?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we've actually correlated our database with 33 core values. And so all the companies are matched with personal values. So when you do a search in our software, you type in 5 or 6 key personal values for yourself, and it will only show you companies in alignment with those values. And the next thing that we look at are the fundamental, the financial, and the technical indicators for companies. And we look at all three very closely. We have a ranking system from 1 to 5 stars within our software. And the 5 stars are real coveted stocks that we've looked at everything in terms of, and fundamentals is what are the insiders doing? Are they buying or selling their stock? We're looking at what Wall Street says. They're giving their opinion, but not giving it a lot of weight. And lastly, we're looking at the percent of float. What percent is being shorted versus held long? Because that
Mm,
impacts the stock ultimately. And then financially, we're looking at obviously earnings growth. We're looking at the money flow index for the company. Is money, are investors buying shares or are they selling? We're looking at the debt to equity ratio for a company and a few other financial metrics that really give an indicator of how well a company is doing on their balance sheet and deploying the cash that they have available. And then lastly, the technical indicators show us. I've always said the trend is your friend. When you get a rising stock, you certainly don't want to buck the trend. You want to be long that particular stock. We're looking at the trend of the stock. We're looking at the money, the simple moving averages from short term 15-day all the way out to long term 200-day moving average. And then we gauge where the price of the stock is in relationship to those average, because a stock chart doesn't mean anything unless there's something overlaid that stock price, which shows, and it's almost the perfect indicators to show whether to buy, sell, hold, or avoid a company.
interesting. And what sort of particular, like for example, there's a lot of investors like the Warren Buffett style, this value investing, and then there's like kind of this new there's like growth investing. What sort of clients gravitate towards using your software and your service?
Yeah, thanks for that question. It's a great question. We get both growth investors and value investors. And then we also get really long term investors that simply want to grow their assets, grow their wealth, and need a little hand holding in terms of which, for example, which asset classes to own. So we have in within our software called the Portfolio Assistant, which guides investors what to do with their cash. And it's based on 3 levels. We call it the base, the growth, and the accelerate categories. So we really bring an investor into the very base of their portfolio. This is the part where 50% of all their assets should be in base stocks. And those include dividend paying stocks, as well as the big conglomerate companies that are of value. So we stick with value oriented stocks in terms of the financial base of a investor's portfolio. And this is where the bigger base you have as an asset base, the more financial freedom you have, the more flexibility. When you have a few $1 million in your portfolios, it's easy if you have a bad day at work to tell your boss, bye bye, I'm out of here. So we recognize and we start investors in that direction, giving them very clear steps on how to build the base of their portfolio. And then we go to the next section, which is growth. And growth is that middle section of a portfolio that bridges the value stocks with high growth companies. And it's really the sweet spot. Most companies are like, I'm thinking of Apple, for example, would be a hybrid. That would be in our growth category because they pay a dividend, but it's small, right? It's minor, it's 1% or something like that. So they're really more in alignment with the growth strategy. And we help people guide them through, of course, based on their risk tolerance level. We have a short questionnaire. It's 13 questions to determine someone's risk level. And then we guide them into 5-star growth stocks. So they don't really have to think about oh, I don't know which stocks to pick. There's so many out there. And they're absolutely right. There's over 3,300 companies that trade on the NASDAQ alone, let alone all the other indexes. Yeah, that's how our software is set up. User friendly, super simple. That's why we do say you don't have to be an expert to invest like one.
Interesting. So we'll dive into one of the questions is a lot, because a lot of the audience, the listeners or viewers, they basically they went from mutual funds to index funds, low cost index funds. And is how does your software compare with just this low cost index fund investing strategy?
We believe in full transparency. So we post our returns on our 5-star stocks on our website on a 30-day rolling average and then a 12-month average. And we've outperformed the indexes by 52% as of this morning. So our recommendations are bang on in terms of our 5-star stocks. So if an investor stays with the 5-star, which is our coveted buy rating, they'll blow away any type of returns that they receive in an index fund or ETF or anything like that.
Interesting. The next question I have for you is, how does the Sterling stock picker work in terms of, just you talked about the features and the portfolio and the performance. People are interested in checking it out, like pricing or how does it work, etc.
Yeah, you mean to be a subscriber of the software? Okay, yeah. So we have a special plan for your folks through that hear us on this podcast, and they get 30% off. So it would cost them $20 a month for our software, or they even get it discounted on our annual subscription. So super affordable. I think the annual at 30% off brings it down to $12 a month, dare I say, something like that, really affordable. And we were intentional about our pricing. We want people to be able to take advantage of it in a comfortable way. And so we kept our pricing, we think, very reasonable. And there's also a 14-day free trial as well.
Interesting. The other thing that I love about, there's always something to learn in the markets, and everything's about information flow and data. And how are you harnessing artificial intelligence for your software features or improving it, stock selection, etc.?
Yeah, great question. So we do have an AI agent or bot called Finley, and we have calibrated Finley to be able to find winning stocks for someone. For example, they can type in their portfolio of the stocks that they already own, and they can ask Finley questions like, Finley, based on my current allocation of companies, what companies would complement my portfolio? And Finley will come back with a detailed analysis of their current holdings as well as recommendations for them. So we've done that in terms of, we call it the financial coach on demand. So Finley's in there, but AI is all throughout our platform in terms of remembering, like, for example, I mentioned people posting their values, personal values. So we track and monitor that closely, as well as their other preferences for picking stocks. So it will know what type of company someone's interested in. It'll make recommendations based on those interests. And it has that throughout the software, where they can just go to a tab and under suggested stocks, look at companies that are similar, but also complementary to their portfolio. We are heavily invested in AI throughout the platform, from our asking question feature to our stock forum and things like that.
Interesting. Yeah, and the next question I have for you is, what kind of result, you mentioned like the 5-star rating stocks, but clients that are using your software, what kind of results are they seeing, and any success stories or surprising wins from the community?
Yeah, some people are shy about their results, but we have one gentleman who isn't. He's a high school teacher, and he is constantly posting his wins and his results. And he started with, we have his testimonial actually on our website, and he started with something like $17,000, and he made it to our 6-figure club within a year's time. So he grew 17,000 to $100,000 within a 12-month period or less. I think it was even ended up being like 10 months or something. And that was 100% through the use of our software.
Oh, wow. Interesting. The next question I have for you is talking about confidence and how does Sterling Stock Picker help investors build confidence and make decisions without second guessing every move?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm in there every week, live streaming every Monday and answering people's questions. So I think part of that does help with a increasing people's confidence, knowing that they have access to me, even on a regular basis. So when someone posts a question in our stock forum, I'm in there multiple times throughout the week answering questions. So I don't leave anyone hanging. So our level of client care has been a big help for people. They feel like they have an investment coach on their side helping them out because we want everyone's success is our success. We feel very strongly about that. And therefore, we've been able to grow our platform. We've already added 700 new subscribers over the last month and a half. So we continue to grow very quickly. And I think the reason we're having that level of growth is because people know how easy it is to use our software and they're very comfortable picking stocks finally on their own. We get them out of the financial matrix, which is the and brokerage firms and banks that want to keep people broke and stuck and having them pay continuously fees to them. And there's a better way. We know that for a fact. And now that brokerages have gone from high commission rates down to zero, an investor can start feeling comfortable buying stocks and pay no commission and start to see their money grow. Actually, that makes a meaningful result. From $17,000 to 100, that's meaningful money that is impactful in someone's life.
Yeah. Yeah, really. And so to end it out for listeners who are interested in checking out, what's the best way to dive into the your platform and what should they expect in the first 30 days?
Yeah. So Sterling, thanks for asking. Sterling Stock Picker and Sterling like Sterling, like Sterling Silver, stockpicker.com/VIP will give your listeners 30% discount that we talked about. And I think the thing is, even if you feel nervous about joining, just know it's perfectly normal to feel nervous because you're trying out something new. And we also have a huge educational resource for people. I filmed and recorded hundreds and hundreds of hours of video trainings that are throughout the platform, and an additional platform that we have to bring even the very beginning investor, or if you're more of a like a seasoned investor, we have courses for you around options and things of that nature. So whatever level you're at in terms of your investing experience, feel comfortable that you'll grow with us and you'll start to make some meaningful money throughout the months. And then when you start to see your portfolio grow, you get much more confident, right? You get more excited, and then you start to make better financial decisions in all areas of life, and life gets better, right? We know that the more money we have, the more fun life gets and easier it gets as well.
Interesting. Yeah, you mentioned one follow-up question from the listener and viewers is because you mentioned option. They asked, is there any forex or futures? And I don't know. Again, this is not advice, but they're asking about coin and crypto. What do you support that?
That is a great question. And I was all for crypto until something recent happened with this new administration of the US government, which they started to create a an account for crypto that was confusing for investors. A lot of investors thought, based on, and the name's slipping me right now, but it'll come back, but based on this type of structure, we thought XRP was going to skyrocket. We thought Bitcoin was going to skyrocket, and they all went down. They've done nothing since. And that is because the account that was set up was to be for forfeited assets from seizure, like civic seizure, taking people's Bitcoin and things of that nature. It wasn't that the US government was going to go in and buy a Bitcoin to run the price up, or XRP. So I am very cautious. In fact, I sold all my crypto and I bought more gold and silver coins just a few weeks ago. I'm very cautious about crypto. I know that we're heading toward some type of blockchain system and some type of central digitalized currency. It's been announced in the UK for October of this year. So I think they're going to roll it out there to start, see how that goes. And then eventually we'll get it here in North America as well, because they want to track and trace and control the money flow. That's just the reality of what is going on. And I'm not certain how crypto or which crypto is going to benefit from that. So I would say, to be a cautious investor in the crypto space, you certainly wouldn't want to put all of your assets in there. But we know over time, in any economic environment, gold has outperformed any asset class. In fact, it's doing it beautifully year to date. It's up 40%, huge returns over the last year. And silver is doing well also, because as the US dollar continues to decline, no one's really talking about, boy, we're going down a deep rabbit hole, Chris. I hope it's okay. But no one's talking about the decline of the US dollar. It's off 8.5% year to date. That is extraordinary. And it's a direct, like, with lack of faith in the US government, Japan selling the US Treasury bills, other countries around the world are dropping and dumping treasuries. If there continues to be a real lack of trust in the US, then we're in for not a good ride, let me tell you.
Yeah. Actually, it's actually better. I'm American, but this whole Federal Reserve and money printing and reserve currency it's really done a lot of harm. And I'm all for diversification. If the dollar gets supplanted, that's great. There's more equality for other countries, and the US can't abuse its power. Really interesting, fascinating conversation. And if people wanted to connect with you and learn from you, how could they do that?
Yeah, sterlingstockpicker.com is our website. It's got all my information on it and information about what we offer, courses, and our software as well. Yeah, please connect with me there.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming on, and really fascinating work, and keep it up.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.